your microphone?
Yep, there you go.
So it's Volker, German, and most Americans get it wrong, so don't worry about it. It's all good. I'm going to try to stay within my allotted time slot, and I could talk about Pyka for an hour or more. If you want to, please see me after the show. First of all, thank you very much for the invitation, Grand Farms. Thank you very much for the FAA to be here, for the Lieutenant Governor to have us here. And I'm going to give you a very brief introduction to what Pyka does. You have probably heard about us, or there's a good chance you've heard about us recently. And let me see if the clicker works. Yeah, it does. July 20th is an important day in aviation history. In 1969, Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon. In 2023, Pyka received FAA exemption for Pelican spray to operate commercially in the US. Thank you very much, Jeffrey, for that. Has been long time coming, but it is, if I'm not mistaken, by a factor of 10, the largest autonomous drone ever approved by the FAA to fly in the US. So therefore, appreciate the fact that things take a little bit of time. Let me give you, if you haven't had a chance to go on our YouTube channel or website, let me give you a brief introduction to what the product actually is. Thank you very much. Thank you. So that is the product that we have today, but we're not going to stop right there. So Jeffrey, we're going to come back to you relatively soon. Meet Pelican Cargo, the sister ship to the spray drone that we rolled out officially at the beginning of the year, and we are currently working on preparing the application for the FAA exemption there as well. Back to the start. Where does Pyka come from? We are a Silicon Valley company based in Oakland, California, founded in 2017 by 4 co-founders that are very enthusiastic about aviation, built airplanes when they were little. As the airplanes grew up, the founders grew up as well. I joined the company 2 years ago, so I'm not one of the co-founders. I was probably employee number 22, 23. Since then, we've grown significantly. We're now at 55 employees, and we are hoping to get to about 60, 65 employees before the end of the year. So any college students that are around here. We're always looking for talented new joiners to the company. We've raised so far about 60 million, almost $60 million. We've been very frugal in spending, so we still have significant runway ahead of us. And with the commercial ambitions that we have and revenues that we're starting to get in, we feel that we're in a pretty good position. On the left-hand side, you see the actual shop that we have at Pyka in Oakland. This is where everything is being built. The airplane is being built from scratch in Oakland. We're starting to outsource some of the supplies to vendors in Mexico and around the world. But all of the systems integration, all of the development, all of the IP that is in the airplane comes from Pyka and is ultimately being assembled there in Oakland. Talked about Pelican spray, or you saw the video. So high level, I think the senator said yesterday, 1,000-pound drone. It's actually 1,300-pound drone. It's again the largest autonomous spray drone ever approved by the Aviation Authority, by the FAA. Sprays about 65 hectares or so per hour, depending on the application rate that you're using. We are, and we're going to get to that in a second, we are operational in Central America right now. With the approval from the FAA, we're looking forward to working in the US and starting to utilize the airplane in the US as well. The cargo drone, just for information, carries about 400 pounds and up to 200-mile range. So significant opportunities for inter-island logistics, remote connectivity, and that's the main, and humanitarian aid in particular. That's the main industry segments we're going after. On the commercial side, we are working commercially with large food producers, large growers outside of the US. So we started delivering the first couple of airplanes to Costa Rica in 2021. And we're working with food producers like Dole, other well-knowns that we can't disclose at this point in time. You will see a press release coming out probably next week. We've just completed with Dole the first phase of trials in Honduras, where we are spraying bananas with them. Food producers are not necessarily interested to see in trials that the technology itself works, but what they want to see is the efficacy of the spray. So we've been working with them for 7 months. We delivered the first airplane to them in December last year and started the trials in January. We have proven through the trials that the efficacy over bananas is at par or better than the conventional airplanes. The next step now is to expand the operation and then ultimately get to a large-scale commercial deal with Dole. Grupo Hame is in Guatemala, so we're going to enter Guatemala by the end of the year. We're going to expand with Dole into other regions in Central America as well. And then, as I mentioned, we have a couple of other players that we're working with that we can't announce yet. In the US, we have one launch customer that we are talking to and developing trials with to be set up in early 2024, early next year, and then expand from there on out. On the cargo side, a little bit less interesting for you, but most importantly, Skyports is probably the largest drone service provider in the world right now. Based in the UK, they are our selected partner to work with anywhere where we want to provide the service, not just the equipment, but the service. So they are interested to potentially join as well on the agricultural side. And then we have a couple of defense customers that I can talk to. Their interest is more on the cargo side, so therefore not for the spray plane, but for the cargo transportation and working with them both in the US as well as across the world. The FAA certification, as I mentioned, came through in July this year. Around the world, the interesting thing to see is that, in particular, strong agricultural companies, I heard Brazil earlier, as well as Central America, Costa Rica, Honduras. The aviation regulators are very open to talking to us about what does it take for you to bring your equipment to the country and deploy it here and help the economy, help the farmers, help the growers in the country. Brazil is a very interesting topic because ANAC just recently in April this year came out with new regulation that essentially authorizes all autonomous agriculturally used drones for commercial service, all within visual line of sight or extended visual line of sight. But they were the first mover when it comes to that. And we're hoping that the FAA and other regulators around the world take note of what Brazil has done, because the importance of Brazil as an agricultural country is well understood, and they are trying to be on the forefront of doing that. Ecuador actually has gone another step further. Ecuador has approved all agricultural drones to fly, not just within visual line of sight, but beyond visual line of sight. So there is movement, in particular in the Central and South American market, to force and support agricultural drones to come in and advance the economies. In the future, we think that for markets like the US and Brazil, ultimately a larger airplane is needed. Given broad acreage spraying, the airplane that we have right now probably needs to be upgraded. So the plans are for 2025, 2026 or so to launch airplanes that have about 3 to 4 times the capacity of the current Pelican airplane. There's enough to be done on the commercial side that we don't have to move there immediately. There's enough to be done in the US that we don't have to move there immediately, but the ultimate ambition is to revolutionize the industry with larger airplanes and get to full autonomy and full electric application at some point in time. So that's on our roadmap, and we call the airplanes the Grand Pelican. So I can't wait to see what else is in stock on July 20th in the future. There's more to come from Pyka, so stay tuned. This is the team as it is right now. There are a few people missing. The deployed flight test engineers are always out in the fields, but that's the team as it is right now. And thank you very much for having me. And any questions that you have for me, please see me after the conference or this afternoon. Thank you.